He thought he was offering her protection. What he really gave her was a front row seat to violence. At first, it looks like a fantasy. A broken woman, publicly humiliated, is suddenly chosen by a powerful man who sees her pain. But this story is not about rescue. It is about how violence reproduces itself through love, power, and desperation. Jessica accepts one fake role at a wedding, and that performance becomes a trigger for something far darker. In a world built on control, even tenderness becomes dangerous, and the moment she is seen, she also becomes vulnerable.
Her sister Sophia looked like a dream in a white lace gown, glowing with that boundless 23-year-old optimism. From table 12, the family reject zone, Jessica watched, parked right by the chaotic kitchen doors where servers rushed by with champagne she couldn't afford. The Grand Marquis Ballroom was a shrine to fairy tale weddings in Chicago, all crystal and marble with glass walls showing off the lit-up city, a spot buzzing with old money vibes. But get this, security had already flagged a guy at the front desk. 2 guards were on their way. It had been 3 hours since she'd bailed on Lily, and she could still see the 5-year-old's disappointed face. Lily had pleaded to come, desperate to wear her thrift store burgundy dress and see Aunt Sophia's wedding, but Camilla, her rock and best friend, had given her the real talk. Fancy parties and little kids are a recipe for disaster. Lily was way better off at home, binging her favorite movies, safe from the wave of family judgment already crashing down on Jessica. That judgment hit at 7:30 the instant she walked in solo, a 28-year-old single mom in a dress that was 2 years old and holding on for dear life. Her cousin Vanessa floated past, showing off a 7-month baby bump in designer maternity wear like a championship belt. And Vanessa's husband, who just happens to be Jessica's ex, gave a nod so quick it barely counted. There he was, Tyler, the dude who ghosted her when the pregnancy test was positive and married her loaded cousin 6 months later, acting like he hadn't just torched her world. Jessica, meanwhile, was pulling 12-hour shifts at Lurie Children's Hospital, coming home to a daughter asking about her dad, all while running the numbers on how much overtime she needed for rent. "Jessica, darling, no guest?" The question was from her mom, her voice a perfect mix of fake worry and actual disappointment. She'd appeared at the table during cocktail hour, dragging Jessica's dad along, who wore his usual pained look of a man forced to watch his daughter fail. "We thought you'd bring someone. The Martinelli family is here, you know. Their sons are total catches. They own all those restaurants." "I'm good, Mom," Jessica shot back, cracking a smile that felt like breaking glass. "Lily says congrats to Sophia. Yes, the baby." The way her mom called a 5-year-old a baby said it all. "Camilla's with her, right? Such a shame you can't swing a proper nanny." They vanished before she could even answer, moving on to guests with more social clout. They schmoozed with the family A-listers, her sister Lauren, married to a surgeon, cousins with advanced degrees and stock portfolios. And then there was Jessica, the pediatric nurse, the med school dropout who swapped a doctor's coat for single motherhood, living in a 1-bedroom in a neighborhood people generously called up and coming. In her pocket, her thumb had already hit 911, keeping the line open so the dispatcher could trace it, while a neighbor's text had already tipped off the doorman. Giovanni had begged her not to file a report just yet, not until they knew which crew was going to retaliate first. The 7-course dinner was an eternity of food she couldn't taste. The couple next to her was debating a winter trip to Aspen. The woman across from her was flashing a rock worth more than 6 months of her pay. Jessica just smiled and nodded, wondering how long before anyone would even notice she was gone. Then the music kicked in for the first dance, Sophia and her new husband looked like they were floating. Her parents were next, a perfect picture of pride. Then Lauren and her husband joined in. Soon, even the younger cousins were paired off, spinning under the lights. Outside, the Chicago sky had turned black. The forecast was clear, but the universe had other plans. A low rumble of thunder started vibrating through the ballroom, shaking the floor beneath the music. Rain started pouring down the glass walls, turning the city lights into a blurry mess of color and sadness. "Can I have this dance?" The voice was Tyler's. It hit her like a punch to the gut, making every muscle in her body go rigid. She turned. He was standing there by himself. Vanessa was probably holding court somewhere else. "No thanks." She kept her voice dead flat, the same professional tone she used with parents on the edge at the hospital. "Oh, come on, Jess. One dance for old time's sake." He was trying that boyish charm that used to work on her, back before she knew it was all he had. "We can be adults about this." "We are being adults, and the answer is no." She turned back to the dance floor, completely dismissing him. He didn't budge. "You know, it doesn't have to be like this. I screwed up, I admit it, but—" "Tyler." She stood up, her polite facade finally cracking. "Go back to your pregnant wife. Dance with her, and stay away from me." "My pregnant wife," he snapped back. "Who is carrying my legitimate child?" The charm was gone, replaced by pure venom, unlike the mistake that cost you your medical degree. A slap, a scream, any big scene would have been justified. Instead, she just stood there, watching him walk back to Vanessa, who was waiting for him at the edge of the dance floor. From across the room, Vanessa's eyes locked with hers. A hand rested on her pregnant stomach. She smiled, a quiet, brutal smile that screamed, "I won." As the music shifted to a slow jam, the floor filled with couples, their soft movements a total mismatch for the rage storm brewing inside Jessica. She fell back into her chair at table 12, fighting the urge to completely break down in front of 200 people who already saw her as a walking disaster. That's when she saw him. He was at the bar, apart from the crowd, but somehow commanding the whole area. He was tall, maybe 6'3", with short dark hair and a body chiseled at the gym. His black suit was perfect, but his face was what stopped her cold. High cheekbones, a jawline that looked carved out of rock, and eyes that, even from across the massive ballroom, felt like they were drilling through every defense she had. He was watching her. This wasn't some random glance from another wedding guest. He was studying her, his focus so sharp it should have felt creepy, but instead, it sent a totally different kind of shock through her. She broke eye contact first, her face flushing hot. When she dared to look again, he was chatting with a guy from the groom's side, the older Martinelli brother, the restaurant mogul. After a quick word, the stranger started moving on a mission, cutting through the crowd straight for her. Her first instinct was to run, grab her purse, and make up some emergency about her daughter. But something kept her glued to her chair at table 12 as he crossed the room, moving with the cool confidence of a man who's never been told no in his life. He stopped right beside her table. Up close, his presence was a gut punch. The eyes she'd seen from far away were a warm, light brown, catching the light like amber. A tiny scar cut across his chin, a detail that only made him look more intense. He smelled expensive, like cedarwood and some dark, mysterious spice. "You have been sitting here by yourself all night," he said, his voice shaded with a faint accent straight out of an old Italian movie. It seems a terrible waste. I'm fine, she managed to say, her heart starting to pound against her ribs. But thanks for the concern. No, he said. I do not think you are fine. He took the empty seat next to her without asking, a smooth, deliberate move. I think you are in agony and you are trying desperately to hide it. The call-out was so dead on, it knocked the wind out of her. You don't know anything about me. I know you are alone at a family party where everyone else is paired up. I know the man who just spoke to you made you want to disappear. And I know you have checked your phone every 15 minutes, plotting your escape. The edge of his mouth turned up, but it wasn't quite a smile. Am I mistaken? You're very observant. She put her phone down, suddenly seeing herself through his eyes, her misery totally exposed. Are you a friend of the bride or groom? I am neither. A business associate of the Martinellis, then. He nodded toward the family he'd been talking to. They extended the invitation, Giovanni Fioraldi. He held out his hand. When she took it, his grip was warm and firm, but not crushing. Jessica Reed. Jessica. He said her name like he was tasting it. The sister of the bride. The one who came alone. In certain circles, word travels very quickly. His hand was gone, but his vibe remained, holding the whole room steady. He leans in. Jessica Reed, I've got a proposal for you. Any sane woman would have bolted back to her normal single mom life, a world with zero room for dudes in sharp suits with dangerous eyes. But a new voice inside her asks, what kind of proposal? Giovanni gets closer, his voice a low-key secret in the noise. Dance. Be my fake wife tonight, show everyone you're not here alone. The host coughs. She's just stunned. Fake marry a guy she just met? Why not? He shoots back, his logic hitting like a truck. This fixes both our issues. His face gave nothing away, but you could see something wild flickering in those amber eyes. He broke it down. My family's on my case. Your family seems to love that you're alone. We can fix this for each other. Her brain was screaming that this was completely nuts. Maybe, he said, getting up and offering his hand again. He glanced at the floor. The music's starting and your ex is staring. Let's put on a show. The smart answer was a hard no, but logic checked out for the night. She grabbed his hand. One dance, she promised herself. His smile was absolutely lethal. We'll see. He led her to the floor, his confidence a solid wall, his palm warm on her back, holding her hand like he actually meant it. The dude was built like a tank, but he held her with insane control. You're a good dancer, she pointed out as they swayed. His moves were perfect. Clearly the guy had lessons. My mother made me, he said, his face clouding over a bit when he mentioned her. She died 2 years ago. Cancer. An apology seemed lame, but that's all she had. I'm so sorry. His amber gaze locked with hers. She would have dug you. She loved women who were their own rock. Women who wanted a partner but didn't need one. A sharp edge hit her voice. And you think I'm picking you? This is pretend. His answer was a quiet threat. For now. His hand tightened, guiding her through a spin. Pretending can turn real, he whispered, if you're honest about what you want. Everything screamed at her to run, to remember this was just an act for a crowd that didn't count. Instead, she leaned right into his pull, drawn to a heat she didn't know she was missing. The song changed, but they stayed put. All around them, you could see jaws dropping. Her own mother's shock was written all over her face. Even her sister Lauren looked more interested, then judgmental for once. And Tyler? He was watching from the bar, his face a total blank. Your ex-husband is hooked, Giovanni said quietly. She wondered how he could tell. He's looking at you, Giovanni said, like a guy who threw away gold, then saw someone else pick it up. A muscle in his jaw jumped. Predictable dudes! She jumped to his defense. You don't know him. But Giovanni's red was a knife. I know he ditched you, married your cousin, and that he doesn't deserve the hurt you've been hiding. His voice was low, but it had the chill of cold steel. Am I wrong? The question just hung there. She had no comeback. You're arrogant, she finally said. I call it observant, he shot back, leading her in a smooth turn, and I'm right. She got pissed. Being right doesn't mean you get to be cruel. His reply was simple. No, but being honest does. After a moment, he quietly apologized for crossing a line, admitting it's a flaw. He needs to fix broken things. I'm not a problem, she snapped. No, he agreed, his thumb making slow, dangerous circles on her back. You're a woman who deserves way better. Let me be that for you. Just for tonight. The music stopped and people started clapping. He let her go like he really didn't want to, then offered his arm. Your family's gonna have questions. He wasn't wrong. The second they hit the table, her cousin Sandra swooped in, her eyes gleaming. Jessica, hiding your date, are we? She cooed. Aren't you gonna introduce us? Trying to sound casual, Jessica did the intro. This is Giovanni Fioraldi. Giovanni, my cousin Sandra. His smile back was polite and gave away nothing. A pleasure. He complimented the wedding, and Sandra immediately said she was a distant cousin. Her eyes, though, were doing a full scan, clocking every inch of his expensive suit. You from Chicago? She asked. I am now, he replied smoothly. Naples originally. Business brought me over. His arm rested on the back of Jessica's chair, a move that was both possessive and protective. We've been seeing each other a few months, keeping it quiet. Jessica likes her privacy. The lie was so good, it felt real. Sandra just stared, her brain buffering, trying to compute this new info. A few months, Sandra repeated, not buying it. You never said. Jessica backed up his lie, saying she liked to keep things private, her hand shaking as she grabbed a glass. Sandra's nod was full of fake sympathy. Right. Well, you definitely traded up. She leaned in like they were besties. He's a knockout. Where'd you meet? Before Jessica could make something up, Giovanni jumped in. The hospital, he said, his voice dripping with sincerity. She saved my partner's son with her quick thinking. Then he looked at her with so much fake love that she literally forgot how to breathe for a sec. I asked her out for coffee to say thanks, he went on. She said no 3 times before she finally gave in. Sandra laughed. Totally a Jessica move. And that's how it went. One nosy relative after another came by, and each time Giovanni flawlessly built their fake history using bits of truth. He remembered every single thing she told him. He knew her daughter Lily's name, that she was 5, that she loved to draw. The picture he painted was insane. When they finally got a second alone, all she could say was, "You're way too good at this." As the night wound down, she finally got her chance to grill him. At lying? He asked, a small smile playing on his lips. It's a necessary skill in my line of work. A world he just called business. Import and export, he explained, his fingers lacing with hers. Restaurants. The Martinellis are one of my suppliers. That's why I'm here. She scanned his face, looking for a lie. Is that it? His thumb brushed her palm. Were you hoping for something a little more dangerous? Her answer was firm. This isn't about getting a thrill. She tried to pull her hand back, but his grip was firm, not rough. This is about getting through tonight, she explained. Not being the family pity party. His voice dropped, getting more intense. You're not a pity party, Jessica. You're a woman working 12-hour shifts for sick kids, raising a daughter solo. That's not weak, that's power. His stare was like a flame warming her skin, but before she could say anything, a shadow fell over their table. Tyler. Her ex-husband was standing there, staring only at her. Can we talk? He demanded. Outside! Before she could say no, Giovanni let go of her hand and stood up. It's all good. I need to chat with the Martinellis anyway, he said, giving her a perfect out. Take all the time you need. And then he was gone, leaving her trapped with the dude who wrecked her life. Tyler slid into the empty chair, his cologne so thick it was suffocating. Who is he? He demanded, totally ignoring the story she was ready to give. You would have told Camilla, he said, leaning forward with a predator's look in his eyes. And Camilla tells the whole world. I already asked around. No one in the hospital scene knew a Giovanni Fioraldi. He's not in that world, she explained. It was a partner's kid. She suddenly felt a bone-deep tiredness from the whole conversation. Honestly, Tyler, who I see, is 0% your business. You gave up that right when you left me pregnant. That was different. I wasn't ready to be a dad. But you're ready now? With Vanessa? She nodded towards his new wife, who was across the room with a hand on her baby bump. Or is this baby more real because she has the cash for the life you wanted? Tyler's face got dark. Don't act like you're above us. You're the one who rolls in with some rando acting like you've moved on. And maybe she had. The idea felt surprisingly real. Giovanni was a lie, a story for just one night, but the want to actually be happy was painfully real. Happy? Tyler's laugh was nasty and bitter. Just get real. You're a single mom living paycheck to paycheck. You work your ass off and still can't afford good care for our kid. That guy in the fancy suit is gonna bolt the second he sees what a hot mess you really are. The words were a direct hit, each one a cold, hard fact. Before she could think of a comeback, Giovanni was right back at her side. Is there a problem here? His voice was smooth but sharp. No problem, Tyler said, getting up. Just talking with my ex-wife. Then you're done. Giovanni's hand rested on her waist. The storm's picking up. I'm taking Jessica home, unless you've got an issue with that? It wasn't a question. Tyler looked back and forth between them, obviously wanting to argue, but even he knew when he was beat. He walked off without saying another word. I can get a cab, she said after he left. You don't need to do this. The rain's bad, let me drive you. Giovanni grabbed her purse from the table. Unless you're scared to be alone with me. And honestly, she should have been. Her brain is screaming, girl, do not get in this car. But did she listen? Nah. This Giovanni dude wasn't giving stranger danger vibes. He was giving, I see you're a hot mess and I'm here for it vibes. So she was like, okay, thanks. Next thing you know, a slick black SUV pulls up, driver ready to go. Gio opens the door for her, and she slides onto leather seats, probably worth more than her apartment. He gets in. Not too close, but close enough, and tells the driver her address before she even asks how he knew. Bro was one step ahead, explaining, Your cousin Sandra ran her mouth earlier. Something about you living near the park. She was super proud of that fact. The ride through rainy Chicago gave them the privacy they needed. City lights became a blur outside the tinted windows, total mood lighting. Finally, she breaks the silence. Hey, thanks for tonight. And he's all business. What I did, that was a win-win. Giovanni turns to face her, looking like a mob boss in the shadows. But I was dead serious before, about us continuing this little act. Just a few weeks, long enough for your family to chill out, and for mine to get off my back about getting married. That's insane, she says. You said that already, but you still danced with me. Then boom, he grabs her hand in the dark. Jessica, just think about it. You need space from your family's drama. I need space from mine. We scratch each other's backs. By playing everyone we know, she shoots back. No, by giving ourselves a break from their constant judgment. He gives her hand a little squeeze. A few weeks, that's it. We stage a quiet breakup. No one gets hurt and everybody moves on. She knew it was a hard no. This was a 5-alarm fire of a bad idea. But sitting there, still feeling his hand on her back from that dance, she was actually thinking about it. I have a 5-year-old daughter, she says, laying down her one condition. She's not getting dragged into this. No fake relationships around her. I get it. Deal. This is strictly between us adults. And if one of us wants out, we're out. No mess. Obviously. And just like that, Giovanni pulls a business card out of his jacket. Think it over. Call me if you're in. The car pulls up to her place. Like a gentleman, he walks her to the door in the rain, waits till she's safe inside, then dips. She just watches from the lobby as the SUV vanishes into the Chicago storm. That little card in her hand felt like a lead weight. She should have tossed it, forgotten the whole crazy night, and gone back to her life of 12-hour shifts, bills, and being the family screw-up. But nope, she tucked that card away and went upstairs, fully aware she was about to make a terrible, terrible choice. Monday morning hits her with a 6 o'clock alarm. She hauls herself out of bed after a measly 3 hours of sleep, her brain still stuck on a loop from Saturday. Giovanni's touch, the rage on Tyler's face when he saw them, and that damn business card practically burning a hole in her clutch. Her daughter Lily was already up, building a block masterpiece and humming some random tune. The kid looks up with these big blue eyes, 100% from her trash ex, Tyler, but thankfully that's all he passed down. Morning, sweetie. Did you have a good time with Camilla? We made cookies and watched the princess movie 3 whole times. Lily drops her blocks and gives her a massive hug. Camilla said you went to Aunt Sophia's wedding. Was it pretty? Super pretty. She kisses her daughter's head, smelling that baby shampoo scent. Okay, get dressed while I make some food. We gotta bounce in 40 minutes. Her 12-hour shift at the Children's Hospital started at 7 o'clock on the dot. She dropped Lily off at kindergarten by 6:30, then battled traffic to clock in with literally 3 minutes to spare. The pediatric ward was its usual brand of chaos. Beeping machines, anxious parents, and that bleach smell she basically lived in. Her phone starts blowing up before she's even done with morning rounds. It's a full-on text-pocalypse from her family, who clearly spent all of Sunday gossiping about her mystery man. Her cousin Sandra. OMG, call me. Need the tea on Giovanni. Lauren. Mom is freaking out. Who is he? Even her mom, who barely knows how to text, sent one. We need to discuss Saturday. Your father and I are worried. She put her phone on silent and jammed it in her pocket. Whatever drama she'd started could wait. She had tiny humans to keep alive right now. The morning was a blur of IVs, meds, and calming down a 7-year-old girl having a bad asthma attack. By noon, she'd almost managed to forget about Giovanni and his insane deal. This was her reality: sick kids, tired nurses, and money problems. She was updating a chart when her ex, Tyler, just appears at the nurse's station. He shouldn't even be on the floor, but Tyler was always a pro at talking his way into places he had no business being. "We need to talk," he says, getting right in her face and blocking her way. "Right now." "I'm working," she says, trying to get past him. "And you're not even supposed to be here." "I told security I was visiting my daughter." His jaw was clenched so tight. That vein in his forehead was popping, his classic tell for when he's about to lose it. "Which I should be able to do. You never let me see her." "You never asked to see her," she snapped back, keeping her voice down as the other nurses pretended not to eavesdrop. "And Lily's not a patient, so that lie won't work if security double checks." Tyler leans in, dropping his voice to a hiss. "Who the hell is Giovanni Fioraldi? And don't feed me that hospital story. I've been asking around. Nobody in Chicago's medical world has ever heard of the guy." "Maybe," she says, trying to sound cool. "That's because he's not in your little bubble. Maybe his whole life isn't about impressing your rich friends." She finally sidesteps him. "Now get out before I call security." "Is he paying you?" That question hit her like a punch to the gut. She turned around slowly. "Is that it? Some deal where he throws money at you to be his arm candy at parties?" The insult burned way more than it should have. "Get out, Tyler." "Because that I'd get. You're broke. He's loaded. And you were never too proud to take a handout." "I have never taken a single cent from you or anybody else." Her hands balled into fists. "I work for everything I have, for everything Lily has. So you can take that little fantasy where I'm some desperate woman selling herself and shove it." "Then what is he to you?" Tyler shot back. "What could he possibly want?" "Something you never did, like basic respect." She turned to the nurse's station. "Security, please. We have an unauthorized person on the floor." Tyler bailed before security got there, but not without giving her a look that screamed, "This ain't over." She was shaking for the rest of her shift, her hands so unsteady she had to get another nurse to help with an IV. 7 o'clock finally hit and she was free. She scooped up Lily from after-school care, and her daughter's happy chatter was a wild contrast to the storm brewing in her own head. Every single red light on the drive home was another chance to replay Tyler's venom. Think about Giovanni's card sitting in her purse like a dare, and realize she was one bad choice away from disaster. At 8, her bestie Camilla showed up for their Tuesday takeout ritual, her eyes full of worry. Jessica knew the interrogation was coming. She just waited, pushing food around her plate, until her friend finally broke the silence. "So, your mom, Sandra, Lauren, they've all been blowing up my phone," Camilla started. "They're dying to know about some guy named Giovanni." Jessica just tried to play it off, staring at her noodles like they held the answers. "I'm not. It was just a one-time thing, a dance at a wedding so my family would finally see me as something other than their pet project." "A favor?" Camilla's eyebrows shot up so fast it nearly left orbit. "Jess, guys who look like that do not just do favors. What's his angle?" "He just wanted his family to stop pushing him to get married, and I wanted mine to stop pitying me. It was a deal for both of us." then a little slip-up. It is, maybe. He suggested we keep pretending for a while, she finally admitted. Just until everyone backs off. Camila leaned back, the sheer insanity of the plan finally clicking for her. This is nuts, Jess. You know that, right? I do, she said, looking her friend in the eye. But you didn't see them, Cam. You didn't feel them all looking at me with pity, or Tyler looking at me with judgment. For one night, I felt like I mattered. Is that so terrible? Not terrible, Camila said, her voice softening as she grabbed her hand. Just dangerous. Please promise me you'll be careful. If this dude is trouble, you walk. I promise, model. That promise was dead on arrival. She was totally calling him once Camila bounced. Her friend stuck around till 9:30, a solid move, while Lily got tucked in. But then alone, she was bugging out in her kitchen, clinging to a fantasy she knew was about to get wrecked. At 10:15, while she was still overthinking it, a heavy, no-nonsense knock hit her door. Definitely not a neighbor. Through the peephole, two dudes in dark clothes looking like Grim Reapers, one with a nasty tattoo climbing his neck. Jessica Reed. The guy's voice was ice cold with an accent. We need to talk about Giovanni Fioraldi. Every instinct screamed at her to play dead and pretend she wasn't home. I have no idea who that is. Then a phone came up, flashing a wedding picture, the ultimate receipt of her lie. There she was, wrapped up in Giovanni's arms, looking way too real. You're his property, the man stated, so now you're our business. I'm nothing to him, she shot back, her voice shaking. We're friends. She grabbed her phone like a weapon. If you don't leave, I'm dialing the police. Go for it, the tall guy said, not even flinching. We'll be long gone when they arrive. But we will be back, Jessica Reed, and you'd better be ready to cooperate. Mr. Volkov hates being ignored. And with that, they just turned and walked off, leaving her a trembling mess behind the door, her heart going a mile a minute. She was left with a name she didn't recognize and a terror that was chilling her to the bone. Right then, she knew this wasn't some game anymore. This was terrifyingly real. She fished Giovanni's card from her wallet, the silver letters practically glowing. This was her out, her chance to tell him it was over before it even got started, because his drama was literally at her doorstep. But instead of bailing, she dialed his number. He answered on the first ring. Jessica. It all came pouring out of her. Two guys were just here. They had photos. They dropped some name, Volkov, and swore they'd be back. The line went completely silent. Then his voice came through, totally calm and in control. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone. I'm 15 minutes away. Giovanni, what is happening? Who were they? I'll explain everything when I'm there. Just stay put and don't leave Lily. The call cut. She threw every lock she had, then peeked in on her daughter, who was fast asleep, clueless that her mom had just gone all in on a massive gamble. 14 minutes later, he was there. Peeking through the hole, she saw him, and next to him, a dude built like a brick wall. This is my guy, Franco, Giovanni said, walking in uninvited. His eyes swept her small apartment, not seeing a home, but sizing up a battlefield. He wanted to know every single word they said. As she retold the story, Franco stood guard by the window, a human shield broadcasting the danger. With every detail, Giovanni's expression got harder, the scar on his chin standing out. The Bratva, he finally said. It's a Russian syndicate. They're making a play for my territory. Somebody leaked the wedding pics. Somebody told them you were mine. How? She whispered. We just met. but the memory of his touch, that dance, felt like a total betrayal. It was so easy to fall for the perfect illusion. They don't care about truth, Giovanni explained, after a quick, quiet word with Franco in Italian. They care about leverage. This is on me. I should have seen it coming. What do they want? They want to use you to get to me, to force me into a bad deal I can't take. His eyes locked on hers, filled with a regret that didn't help at all. Jessica, I'm sorry. You were never supposed to be in this. Then let's end it, she begged. We can just tell them it isn't real. Too late, Franco's rough voice cut in. They've already made you his weakness. What's real or not doesn't matter now. Her legs gave out and she just collapsed onto her sofa. So what do we do? Giovanni dropped to one knee in front of her, making her meet his intense gaze. Now, I protect you. You and Lily. But I need you to trust me 100%. Can you do that? Her brain screamed at her to say no and kick this whole nightmare out of her life, but trapped in his stare, a single crazy word slipped out. Yes. In under 30 minutes, 2 bags were packed, all while her daughter dreamed on. Totally unaware, her mom just signed them up for a secret war. Camilla got there 20 minutes after the call, looking terrified but already in crisis mode, a friend who'd been through the ringer with her before. Is this temporary? She whispered, packing Lily's favorite toys. You're not actually mixed up in this, right? It was supposed to be, Jessica said, shoving clothes into a duffel bag. It was supposed to be a fake thing for a few weeks. Now the Russian mob thinks I'm a human shield. The Russian mob. Hearing that made Camilla drop onto the kid's bed. Oh, Jess, what have you gotten into? I don't know. Her hands were shaking so bad she could barely zip the bag. He says he's got our backs. That's all I'm clinging to right now. Giovanni's place was a literal fortress in the sky, a penthouse on the Gold Coast worth more than she'd make in a decade. Franco drove them in a blacked-out SUV, taking a crazy route just to make sure they weren't being followed. Giovanni trailed them in another car with a whole security detail she never knew existed. A private key opened the elevator right into a sterile, perfect apartment with a killer view of the lake. The art on the walls was legit. The furniture looked too expensive to sit on. It was a cold luxury world, the exact opposite of the cozy home she just ran from. Guest suites are upstairs, Giovanni said, pointing to a floating staircase. 3 of them. Your choice. Camilla, there's a room for you too. I have to stay? Her friend blurted out, her eyes huge. Yes. Giovanni's answer was flat, totally non-negotiable. Until this problem is gone. Anyone close to Jessica is now a target. That means you. How long will that be? She asked, clutching Lily's bag. Days? Weeks? She started to argue, trying to hold on to her normal life of work and school, but Giovanni shut her down gently. A favor was cashed in. She was now on paid emergency leave for the next 2 weeks. Lily's school was told about a family issue, and a private tutor was already lined up. Jessica was furious. He had no right. But his comeback was absolute. His right was to make sure she didn't die. His amber eyes pinned her down. This was his turf, his rules. And his rules said, you don't leave civilians to get caught in the crossfire you started. A sleepy sound from Lily, snuggled in her mom's arms, was all it took for Giovanni's whole vibe to soften. He suggested getting the kids settled and saving their fight for the morning. The bedroom he led them to was a palace, easily twice her old living room's size, with a massive bed and insane sheets. The bathroom had a crazy shower and a giant tub. As Jessica put her down, Lily's eyes opened. the 5-year-old totally confused by the fancy new room. "Where are we?" she mumbled. "A friend's house, baby," Jessica lied. "We're having a sleepover." She moved a piece of hair off Lily's face. "Go back to sleep now," she whispered. Seconds later, the kid was out, hugging her stuffed bunny. Giovanni just stood in the doorway, impossible to read. "She's beautiful," he said softly. "Has your eyes?" The comment stung a bit. "She has her father's everything else," Jessica shot back, fixing this blanket. "Which is probably for the best." Giovanni stepped into the room, moving silently for a big guy, his eyes glued to Lily with a real interest you don't often see from people without kids. "How old is she?" he asked. 5, Jessica said, fiddling with the blanket. "She turns 6 in March. She's a genius, loves reading, is obsessed with dinosaurs, and asks questions I have no idea how to answer." He actually seemed curious. "Like what?" The raw truth just tumbled out. Like why her dad never comes to visit, or why all the other kids have 2 parents and she only has 1. The words just hung there, full of old hurts. Giovanni's jaw tightened. "He's a fool." "He's a lot of things," she admitted. "Fool is the nicest one." A weird sudden connection formed between them as they both watched the little girl sleep. They were standing a silent watch over her daughter, not like strangers in a crisis, but like a team protecting her. "I should let you get some sleep," Giovanni finally said, heading for the door. "Hit the intercom if you need anything." Right before he walked out, she stopped him. "Giovanni, thank you." She wasn't even sure what she was thanking him for yet, just for this feeling of safety. Something shifted in his expression. "I will always keep her safe, Jessica. Both of you, I promise you that." And with his vow, the next 3 days became a total blur, a complete break from the reality she once knew. So, Wednesday morning, Jessica pops awake to see Lily already scoping out the penthouse with hardcore kid-level curiosity. In the kitchen, Camilla's making breakfast while Giovanni's in his study, dropping rapid-fire Italian that sounds both classy and deadly. At 10 o'clock, a pediatrician shows up for a private checkup on Lily. The doctor's cool, but then Giovanni himself walks in, hammering him with questions about vaccines and a cold Jessica barely even mentioned before. "You actually remember I said she had a cold?" Jessica asks after the doc leaves. "You said she missed school 2 weeks ago," he says flatly, handing Lily a tablet. "I pay attention, Jessica." Thursday, a tutor named Mrs. Patel arrives and has Lily totally hooked. Giovanni watches for a bit, then completely out of nowhere joins a drawing lesson, sketching an insanely detailed horse and teaching Lily how to shade like a pro. "My mother made me take art lessons," he explains, his massive hand guiding Lily's tiny one. "She believed in beauty and business." From the kitchen, Jessica and Camilla just stare at this surreal scene. They watch him get down on her level, praising her with zero condescension, his patience off the charts. "He's good with her," Camilla whispers. "Way too good." And that simple fact is scarier to Jessica than any mob boss, because Lily's already asking when they can go back to Mr. Giovanni's house. She was already doodling pictures of a tall, dark-haired man standing with them, accidentally filling a dad-shaped void Jessica spent 5 years trying to ignore. That spark of tension between them from the wedding was now a full-blown fire in this penthouse. Giovanni was a constant, powerful force. The way he moved, the cedar scent that followed him, the authority in his voice. Every night, they ate dinner like a bizarre, temporary family, with Giovanni locked in on every word Lily said. After Lily was out for the night, they'd talk up the terrace, city lights spread out below, avoiding the one reason they were there. He told her about his mom, Sophia, who lost her fight with cancer when he was 33. He described a slow, agonizing goodbye and the promise she pulled from him. Find a woman who challenges you, not one who just accepts your darkness. She would have liked you, he tells her on the third night, his voice low. So she had respect for women who stood on their own, he went on. She started with nothing, married my father at 19, and clawed her way up. Jessica finally asks the question that's been hanging in the air. What world is that exactly? Giovanni takes a beat, sipping his wine. He owns restaurants, he says. 4 big-shot Italian places. That's the public story. But he also runs that off-the-book stuff. Territories his father locked down. A legacy he has to protect. You're Mafia, she says, putting it out there plainly. A tiny smirk hits his lips. I call it a community organization with flexible ethics. But yeah, my family's run Chicago's shady side for 3 generations. The restaurants are legit, but everything else is in the shadows. And the Russians? They want those shadows, he says, his voice turning to steel. They're pushing, using violence where his father would have used words. I'm trying for peace. They think it's weakness. On Friday afternoon, Franco walks into the study looking grim. We found the leak, he says, no sugarcoating it. The source of the photos, the rat who told the Bratva about Jessica. Giovanni gets up from his desk, his whole body tense. Who? Franco's next words hit like a truck. Her cousin, David Reed, been feeding the Russians info for 6 months. He saw the wedding pics online and smelled money. Jessica felt the floor drop out. David, my cousin. Franco confirms it. David told the Bratva the marriage was a fake, but their leader, Dmitry Volkov, saw her as leverage anyway. Where is he now? Giovanni's voice is pure ice. And there's the twist. The Russians have him, holding him as insurance. If Giovanni moves, they'll execute David just to prove a point. The room starts spinning. Stupid gambling addict David, who sold his own family to mobsters to clear his debts. We can't just abandon him, she hears herself say. He's an idiot, but he's family. Giovanni's face is stone. He put you and Lily in danger. She locks eyes with him. Family isn't conditional on loyalty, Giovanni. Or on brains, she fires back. What would your mother do? That lands the punch. His jaw clenches before he orders Franco. Set a meeting with Volkov. I'll hear what he wants. Franco warns him. It's a trap. I know, Giovanni says, his eyes on her. But it seems I picked a hell of a time to grow a soul. They pull up to a warehouse in Chicago's industrial district. The smell of the lake cutting through the car's AC. The Friday night air is cold, the clouds threatening rain. Next to her, Giovanni is both her shield and her biggest fear. You can wait here, he offers for the 3rd time. Franco and I can handle this. I was the bait, she shot back. I'll be at the negotiation. A text from Camilla says Lily's asleep. It asks when she'll be home. Home. A word she now connected with his penthouse after just 5 days. You said she'd want them to see I wasn't just a chess piece, Jessica reminds him. My mother, he says, his hand finding hers, would have a lot to say, mostly in words you shouldn't hear. I worked 3 years in a hospital, she retorted. I can take it. The warehouse loomed out of the dark, a rusted concrete monster. 2 black cars were waiting, guys leaning against them with the lazy confidence of killers. Franco gets out first, casing the area like a pro before giving a nod. They step out into air that tastes like metal and rot. A silent Russian waves them into a scene straight out of a movie. It's a massive cavern of shipping containers and weak, dusty light. In the middle is a folding table where two men are waiting. She recognizes the younger one, the punk from Tuesday. The older one could only be Dmitry Volkov. He's in his late 50s, gray hair and a harsh military cut, and eyes that were cold from a lifetime of being cruel. Mr. Fioraldi, Volkov's accented English was like broken glass. You brought the woman, a very American move. Jessica chose to be here, Giovanni replied, pulling her chair out for her. This is about her. Only because you let it be, Volkov shot back, his eyes sizing her up. A lovely prize. We know this marriage was just for show. How we started doesn't matter, Jessica cut in, shutting Giovanni down. Your leverage is me, so I get a seat at this table. The younger thug starts to laugh, but Volkov silences him with a look. Audacious, the old man says. Your cousin David mentioned your pride, the reason you wouldn't give him money. His voice got lower. Do you know where David is, Jessica Reed? Franco said he's with you. Correct. In a cellar nearby. He owes $30,000. He gave us details about you to settle up. Volkov pulls out a phone and shows them the screen. Such a happy couple. It's a picture of them dancing. The look they shared was so real, so completely not fake. It felt like a memory of something that never even happened. David made his choice. Giovanni's voice was quiet but laced with steel. His debt is his problem. Jessica, however, is ours. Volkov pockets the phone. Which makes her valuable. Let's talk terms. You give us your 3 blocks downtown. In return, you get David back, and we leave the nurse alone. No. The word just flew out of her mouth, making both crime lords stare at her in total disbelief. You don't get to threaten a family and then act like this is a normal business deal. Jessica? Giovanni started. No. She was on her feet, running on pure adrenaline that killed any sense of fear. Threaten him, fine, that's the world you live in. But you came into my home. You brought terror to the place where my 5-year-old daughter sleeps. You have my dumb cousin who doesn't deserve whatever you do in your basement. What kind of man makes war on a child's bedtime? What empire is built on scaring women? The question just hung there in the silence. Do you think shame works on me? Volkov's voice was flat, but his eyes lit up with something dangerous. We deal in results, Miss Reed, not feelings. Then here's your result, she declared, the lie feeling like metal on her tongue. I'm not scared of you anymore. You thought using me would break him. All you did was show me who you really are. And I would watch this world burn before you get a single inch from my fear. And just like that, Giovanni gets up, making himself a human shield for her. He's like, what Jessica said goes for me too. But check this out. He throws down a counteroffer telling Volkov he can have 3 whole city blocks. The catch? The Bratva has to sign a treaty saying no more messing with family, no more snatching people, and absolutely no more showing up where kids are sleeping. Volkov is skeptical, trying to spot the trick. Then Giovanni drops the bomb. I'm giving you property I was gonna dump anyway. The city's rezoning it next month, so its value is about to totally tank. Giovanni's poker face is legendary. Take 'em. Their financial collapse is your problem. In exchange, we draw a line in the sand. You stay on your turf, we stay on ours. And civilians are officially off limits forever. After a tense pause, Volkov looks back at Jessica. She's got fire, crazy but fire. He stands up. Deal. 3 blocks a treaty and civilians are untouchable. He sticks out his hand. And yo, Mr. Fioraldi, some free advice. If this whole marriage thing started as a front, you should probably make it legit. A woman who speaks truth to power like that is a keeper. My wife was a woman just like that, and I was smart enough not to let her go. Their handshake was quick, sealing the deal like pros. David would be out within the hour, dropped at a hospital with a 6-month "don't contact us" order. The territory transfer would be done by the weekend. They walked out of the warehouse into a light drizzle, but the second she reached the SUV, her strength just evaporated, the adrenaline crash hitting her like a truck. Giovanni caught her, guiding her into the car. That was either the ballsiest or the stupidest thing I have ever witnessed. Franco's voice pipes up from the driver's seat as they pull away. Still haven't decided which one it was. Both, she whispered back. It was definitely both. Giovanni swivels to face her. You just went head-to-head with Dmitry Volkov. Do you get how huge that is? That you talk to him like that and are still breathing? Honestly, breathing wasn't my top priority, she admitted, her hand shaking. All I saw was Lily, safe at your place, and David in that basement. I was just sick of powerful men deciding who's safe and who gets sacrificed. I'm a pediatric nurse, Giovanni. My entire job is saving children. And then he just kissed her. Her terror melted away as his lips crushed against hers. A fiery, demanding kiss that tasted like every secret desire she'd been pushing down. One hand cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheek, while the other yanked her across the seat until they were pressed together. She kissed him right back, pouring 5 days of fear and a spark of hope into it. He moved like he knew exactly what he was doing, and her body responded with a primal need, totally ignoring Franco, who was suddenly laser-focused on the road. When they finally broke apart for air, he rested his forehead against hers. I've been wanting this since you looked up at me from table 12 and agreed to a dance, he confessed, his voice a bare whisper. Ever since you stood in my house with your kid, saying you couldn't trust anyone but would trust me with her life. Ever since you stared down a Russian mob boss in a grimy warehouse, declaring he wouldn't threaten kids in your city. My city, I told him. This whole world is yours, not mine. Maybe. But you just proved you can stand right in the middle of it and not get burned. His thumb traced her bottom lip. Jessica, this fake out ended somewhere between Saturday and right now. You feel that, don't you? And I did. I'd felt it watching him draw with Lily when he held my hand talking about his mom, when I fell asleep on his terrace to the sound of his voice, feeling safer than I had in 5 years. This is so messy, I breathed. Anything worth having is, he murmured, kissing her again. But this time it was a gentle promise, not a raw demand. Stay. Not for protection. Not because of some deal we made. Stay because you have to see where this goes, now that it's real. The SUV rolled to a stop outside the penthouse. A soft cough from Franco was the only reminder they weren't alone, and that a 5-year-old was sleeping upstairs. I have a daughter, I reminded him. If this whole thing blows up, she gets caught in the shrapnel with me. Then we won't let it blow up. Giovanni helped me out of the car. One day at a time, he said. One choice at a time. It starts with you admitting tonight changed everything. We rode the elevator up in total silence. Camilla met us at the door, took one look at my face, and was smart enough not to ask a single question. She grabbed her coat and let Franco take her home, leaving Giovanni and me standing alone in the massive living room at midnight. The weight of what just happened started to crash down. "I should check on Lily," I said. "You should." He didn't try to stop me, but Jessica, think about what I said about staying. Not as a temporary crash pad, but as someone who actually belongs here. I went upstairs and found Lily fast asleep, totally clueless that her mom had just cut a deal with criminals and then kissed a man who made her forget why she shouldn't. I just watched her breathe. This amazing kid I had with a guy who never deserved her. And I wondered if I was brave enough to risk both our hearts on a man who just might. Downstairs, Giovanni was waiting. Upstairs, my daughter was dreaming. And somewhere on that staircase between them, I made a call that scared me more than any Russian hitman ever could. I was falling for Giovanni Fioraldi, and for the first time since Tyler bailed, I was gonna let myself go with the fall and see where I landed. The first rays of Sunday morning sun hit the penthouse windows, waking me up before my alarm. My brain had been replaying Friday night on a loop. The kiss, the warehouse, the cold look in Dmitry Volkov's eyes, and the fire in Giovanni's when he'd said this stopped being fake somewhere along the way. I found him in the kitchen making coffee, already dressed even though it was barely 8 o'clock. With Lily still knocked out, we had a rare moment of quiet. "We need to talk," he said, handing me a mug. "About what's next?" "That's what I was thinking," I replied. My hands wrapped around the warm mug. This whole thing was supposed to be temporary. A few weeks of faking it until our families backed off. But now everything is a tangled mess. Giovanni leaned against the counter, his sharp amber eyes, the ones that saw everything, locked on me. "Franco called this morning. David's been released from the hospital. He's been told to stay out of Chicago for the next 6 months. The Bratva situation is officially handled. The truce is holding, which means you and Lily are now free to go back to your own lives." Those words should have sounded like freedom. Instead, they felt like a door slamming shut. So it's over, the threat's gone, the deal is done. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Thanks for everything. I guess I'll be seeing you." "That's one option," Giovanni said, putting his mug down. "But I've got another idea. Franco knows people who are pros at fresh starts. Perfect new documents, a new city, a whole new life. I can set you and Lily up with total protection. Get you settled somewhere far away where Tyler or anyone from my world could never touch you. Financial security, a clean break, everything you could ever need. You're offering to make us disappear?" The idea hit me like a bucket of ice water. To get us away from your world, to give you a choice that doesn't tie you to danger just because you feel like you owe me. His face was a perfect, unreadable mask. "I'm the one who dragged you into this mess, Jessica. The least I can do is give you a clean exit." Before I could even think of a response, we heard tiny feet pounding down the stairs. Lily showed up in her PJs, hair a total wreck, clutching a stuffed bunny. "Morning, Mom." "Morning, Mr. Giovanni." She scrambled onto a stool at the counter. "Are you making pancakes?" "Mr. Giovanni makes the best pancakes." "I sure can make pancakes," Giovanni answered, already grabbing the ingredients. "Do we want chocolate chip or blueberry?" "Both!" Lily yelled, bouncing in her seat. "Mom, can we just live here forever? I really, really like it here." And Mr. Giovanni promised he would teach me how to draw buildings today. My heart just cracked. "Honey, we've been imposing on Mr. Giovanni's generosity. We can't just stay here forever." "But why not?" she asked, looking back and forth between us with pure 5-year-old logic. "He's got so many extra rooms." You don't mind, do you, Mr. Giovanni? His eyes locked with mine right over her head. I don't mind one bit. Lily, sweetie, go wash your hands before you eat, I said, my voice soft. She hopped off the stool and bolted for the bathroom, leaving us alone again. She's already gotten attached to you, I said quietly. That's exactly what I was afraid would happen. If we leave now, she's going to have questions I can't answer. So don't leave. Giovanni started whipping up the batter like a pro. Stay. Let's find out what this could be when there's no act, no duty for protection. Just two people who might actually want to make this work. You run a crime family, Giovanni. You cut deals with mobsters. You have enemies who would use me and Lily as leverage if they knew we meant something to you. My knuckles went white on the mug. How am I supposed to build a life for us with that hanging over our heads? By getting that, my world isn't some separate thing. It's a piece of me. But so is the guy who's making your daughter breakfast and wants to teach her how to design skyscrapers. This guy is a total paradox, pulling 3 all-nighters on security so she can sleep safe, yet he'd torch half of Chicago to protect her. Then he's flipping pancakes, asking her to accept his whole gangster plus good guy deal. I'm not asking you to love the criminal, but can you handle the complete, messy truth of who I am? Before she can answer, Lily runs in, hyped about art class and begging for more chocolate chips. The whole breakfast scene looks so ridiculously normal, like a real family. And that domestic vibe is scarier to her than any gunfight because it feels way too right, way too easy, like they've done this for years, not just a few days. So after breakfast, she drops a bomb. She's going back to her hospital job tomorrow. Giovanni's head snaps up, telling her it's a terrible idea. The mob truce is fragile and they aren't sure. But she cuts him off, saying she has to. She needs to feel like she has a normal life, to prove she's not just some damsel hiding in his penthouse waiting for the next crisis. For them to have any chance, she needs to hang on to the person she was before all this insanity started. He gives her a long, hard look, then lays down the law. She'll get a driver and a full security team at the hospital. That part is not up for debate. Fine, she says, learning to pick her battles. But his guys have to be invisible because she's not having bodyguards stalking the children's wing. Monday morning hits with its usual rhythm. She drops Lily at kindergarten with a kiss, then heads to Lurie Children's for her first shift in over a week. The hospital is the same organized chaos she remembers. Scared kids, worried parents, the chemical smell, and the beeping monitors that feel like a second home. Her supervisor catches her right away. Jessica, it's so good to have you back. Is your family issue all sorted? It is, she says, thanking her for being so understanding. Of course, the supervisor says, and get this. One of their biggest donors called about you, a super generous guy. He wanted to make absolutely sure your job was waiting for you. And she gives Jessica this all-knowing smile. Your new boyfriend must have some serious connections. Jessica doesn't correct her. It's just easier than explaining the insane truth. The shift unfolds like it always does. Checking IVs, handing out meds, comforting a 3-year-old with pneumonia. Around 2 in the afternoon, she gets called to see one of their long-term patients. 7-year-old Marcus has been fighting leukemia for 8 brutal months. He's in for another chemo round, totally drained, but still shining bright. Nurse Jessica. His face just lights up when she walks in. You came back. I missed you. I missed you too, champ. She checks his vitals, jotting some down. How are you holding up? Tired, he says, but my mom calls me a warrior. His little hands twist the hospital blanket. Nurse Jessica, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you believe in happy endings like in the movies? The question lands like a ton of bricks. She sits on his bed trying to find the right answer. I think happiness is for people brave enough to fight for it, especially when things get scary and quitting seems like the only way out. My mom says that too, that we have to be brave. Then Marcus looks right at her, his eyes way too wise for a 7-year-old. Are you being brave right now, Nurse Jessica? Out of the mouths of babes. Yes, Marcus, she says, I think I am. Then you'll get your happy ending, just like me. His conviction is a force of nature. We're both fighters, you know. She leaves his room with tears stinging her eyes, but with a new kind of focus. Marcus was fighting for every single breath, and here she was, hesitating to fight for her own happiness just because it was complicated. Her shift ends at 7. Down in the parking garage, she texts Giovanni that she's leaving. The October air is biting cold now, her breath making little ghosts in the dim light. The security cameras saw everything, and security would show up just 30 seconds after it was over. That's when Tyler appears, stepping out of the shadows between two cars. We need to talk. His voice is stretched tight with barely controlled rage. Let's talk about this guy of yours and all the juicy details I've dug up. Tyler, not here, she says, trying to get to her car. Go home to your pregnant wife. He grabs her arm, not hard enough to hurt, but tight enough to stop her. Giovanni Fioraldi runs 4 Italian restaurants, and he's also the suspected mastermind of some major financial crimes in Chicago. Did you know about that? Or did his money make your morals a little negotiable? Let go of me, she snarls, yanking her arm free. My love life is none of your business. It is when my daughter is being exposed to a criminal. Tyler steps closer. That's right. She's still my daughter, no matter how hard you've tried to erase me. And I will not let you drag her into a gangster's world. Your daughter, a rage she'd buried for 5 long years, finally erupts. You walked out when I was pregnant with her. You married my cousin. You have never once asked about Lily, never sent a penny for her, never even pretended to be her father. You don't get to pretend you're concerned now just to feed your own pathetic anger. I care enough to stop her from ending up like you, tangled up with the wrong guy and ruining her life. Tyler's face twists into something nasty. I'm reporting him to the cops. I'll tell them everything I know about Fioraldi. And when he's arrested, I'm suing you for custody of Lily, proving you're an unfit mother who puts her kid in danger. A blast of cold fear kills her anger. You wouldn't. Just try me, Tyler sneers, turning to leave. Dump him, Jess, or you lose her. That will not be an issue. Giovanni's voice cuts through the garage like a razor. He steps out from the shadows near the elevator, his man Franco right behind him. The two of them move like predators zeroing in on their prey. All the color drains from Tyler's face. This is harassment. I'm calling security. I highly recommend you do, Giovanni says, stopping a few feet away. He looks casual, hands in his pockets, but his eyes are pure ice. I'd love to explain to security why you were menacing my girlfriend after grabbing her. I didn't touch her. The security footage might tell a different story. Franco subtly nods towards a camera blinking in the corner. The city of Chicago takes assault pretty seriously, especially when it's an ex-husband who just can't accept he's been kicked to the curb. You don't scare me, but Tyler's voice is shaking now. This isn't a threat, Giovanni says, taking another step. It's an education in consequences. Franco. On cue, Franco pulls an envelope from his jacket. Tyler James Mitchell. Inside is a detailed invoice for your delinquent child support for Lily Reed. 5 years of documented abandonment. A legal demand for all back payments with interest, around $43,000. And a restraining order which gets filed if you ever harass Jessica again. Tyler snatches the envelope. I never agreed to pay child support. That's because you vanished before she could file. Giovanni's voice drops to absolute zero. But ghosting her doesn't cancel your obligations. My legal team is extremely thorough. He is prepared to drag this through every court possible. And trust me, Tyler, you can't afford a war when my lawyers are better than your excuses. Are you threatening me with a lawsuit? Tyler's eyes dart between the two men. I'll fight this. Please do. Giovanni's smile is downright terrifying. Take it to court. Let a judge hear all about how you've been a deadbeat dad. Let them hear how you married Jessica's cousin 6 months after knocking her up and leaving. Let the court decide who's the real unfit parent here. You can't. I can, and I will. But, Giovanni says, his voice softening just a bit, I'll give you another option. Walk away right now. Leave Jessica alone. Stop this whole fake concerned dad act after 5 years of nothing. You do that, and these papers get shredded. You go back to your life, and we forget this ever happened. The silence in the garage is suffocating. Tyler stares at the envelope, then at Jessica, then back at the man who has him completely checkmated. Fine. He throws papers on the ground. She's all yours. They both are. But when this blows up in your face, don't come crying to me. He storms off, his footsteps echoing. Giovanni stays perfectly still until Tyler's car screeches away. Only then does he turn to Jessica. Are you okay? She was not. She's shaking like a leaf from the adrenaline dump. You had him investigated. You had lawyers prep all this. When? The second I knew he was going to be a problem. Giovanni bends down and picks up the envelope. I don't wait for threats to become reality, Jessica. I get rid of them before they can hurt the people I care about. So what happens when you're the threat? The question slips out, sharper than she intended. When your world is the thing that puts Lily in danger, then I will eliminate that threat too, he says, his eyes locking on hers, even if it means eliminating myself from your life. But that's a choice you have to make, Jessica. I can't make it for you. Franco gives a soft cough. I'll be in the car. So he leaves them alone. Just them in the freezing garage, and she's running a million calculations. What she wants versus what she can handle. Which risks are a go and which will blow everything up. Finally, she whispers, Take me home. To your place. We need to talk. Giovanni just nods and offers his arm. She takes it, and they head for his SUV, a single unit, while she's internally screaming that she already made her choice. And that decision, it's way scarier than anything Tyler could ever cook up. The next 2 weeks are a blur of building a new life while juggling the old one. She moves most of her stuff to the penthouse, but keeps her old apartment, a safe house for when she needs air or for Lily's friends whose parents don't need to know about the new complicated guy in their lives. And Giovanni? He slides into the chaos of life with a 5-year-old like he was born for it. He learns Lily needs exactly 3 bedtime stories, that vegetables are only edible when hidden in pasta sauce, and that Tuesday mornings are the absolute worst because the weekend feels a lifetime away. He's there at the parent-teacher conference, crammed into a tiny chair, listening to Mrs. Rodriguez praise Lily's reading. "She's a brilliant kid," the teacher says, looking between them, totally impressed. It's wonderful to see her thriving with two such involved parents. Neither of them corrects her, not a word. Meanwhile, Camila adapts to the new normal like a pro. She still watches Lily after school, but now one of Giovanni's guys picks them up and drives them wherever Jess is, whether it's the penthouse or her old apartment for a dose of familiarity. Their driver, a quiet dude named Anthony, absolutely adores Lily and instantly becomes part of their weird new squad. "This is insane," Camilla mutters one afternoon while Lily draws at the counter. "2 weeks ago, you were a single mom struggling. Now you're in a penthouse with a dude who has a security team." Jess just pours her some tea, one of their old rituals. "Does it make me a terrible person to say I'm happy?" "It makes you human," Camilla says, squeezing her hand. "But be smart, Jess. Happiness that shows up this fast can disappear just as quickly." Her own family's reaction is a total mess. Her mom calls every single day, flipping between being ecstatic she landed a successful guy and terrified of the darkness that follows him. Lauren, shockingly, is all in with her support. She invites them to dinner Saturday for her 32nd birthday, and it's at Giovanni's newest restaurant. "I need to meet him for real," she'd said on the phone. "Not as the mystery man from the wedding, but as the guy who's making my sister smile again." Saturday rolls in with a cold October wind, hinting winter is coming. Jess picks her outfit carefully, a forest green dress Giovanni bought for her even though she protested. Lily is decked out in burgundy velvet, her hair in complex braids that took Jess 40 minutes. "You look beautiful," Giovanni says, his voice deep as he meets them in the living room. He's wearing charcoal gray, no tie, top button undone, broadcasting a perfect mix of class and danger. Both of them. "Mr. Giovanni, are we going to your restaurant?" Lily asks, bouncing with energy. "The one with the awesome breadsticks?" "A different one," he says, kneeling down to her level. "This place is all northern Italian food, but I had the chef whip up some special breadsticks just for you." Fioraldi's River North sits on a corner, its huge windows looking out over the Chicago River. A warm light spills onto the street, and from outside you can hear the happy buzz of conversation. For the family dinner, Giovanni has booked a private room, shielding them from the rest of the restaurant. Lauren and her husband, Daniel, are the first ones there. Her sister looks as chic as ever, with dark, wavy hair that probably cost more than Jess's weekly grocery bill, but the hug she gives is 100% genuine. "Happy birthday," Jess says, handing her the gift she'd hunted down, a first edition copy of a childhood book she found in a used bookstore. "Jess," Lauren gasps, unwrapping it. "This must have cost a fortune." "It didn't. I've got a guy," Jess winks. "All that matters is you love it." Daniel shakes Giovanni's hand with the steady grip of a surgeon who literally holds people's lives in his hands every day. It's good to finally put a face to the name. Lauren's been very curious. "As she should be," Giovanni replies, smooth as ever. "I'd also be wary if my sister suddenly had a new man in her life." Her parents are next. Her dad looks trapped in a suit he obviously hates wearing. Her mom's eyes are already casing the joint, analyzing everything. They'd met Giovanni once at Sophia's wedding, but this is different. This is an official inspection to see if he's good enough for their daughter. "Mr. and Mrs. Reed," Giovanni greets them with polished practice charm. Thank you for coming to celebrate Lauren's birthday. This is your place, her mother states, shaking his hand. We're the ones who should be thanking you. Sophia and her husband show up fashionably late, glowing with that newlywed vibe. The last to arrive is Vanessa. At 8 months pregnant, she's all belly. She's also alone. Tyler's absence is a glaring hole in the room, and seeing her makes Jess's stomach tighten. Jessica, she says, giving her a quick, polite kiss on the cheek. You look great. You too, Jess lies. The woman looks exhausted, a deep weariness that isn't just from the pregnancy. How are you feeling? Massive. Uncomfortable. I just want this baby out, she says, a hand on her stomach. Tyler sends his regrets. Business trip. The lie is so thin it's see-through. Tyler is clearly dodging a scene with both Giovanni and Jess. A part of her is relieved. Another part wishes he was there to see exactly what he threw away. Dinner is a whole production, course after course, of pure art on a plate. Giovanni obviously told his chef to pull out all the stops, and they delivered. Once the initial awkwardness wears off, the conversation starts to flow. Her dad, who barely speaks, is suddenly deep in a chat about architecture with Giovanni. Lauren and Daniel are grilling him about the restaurant business. Even her mom seems impressed by how Giovanni keeps everyone's wine glass perfectly full and got Lily a special mocktail in a grown-up glass. But the thing that really sells the family is watching Giovanni with Lily. The kid gets sleepy after eating and leans against him on the bench. Without missing a beat, he wraps an arm around her tiny shoulders, still talking to her dad and stroking her hair. The move is so natural, like he's done it 1,000,000 times. He's amazing with her, Lauren whispers to Jess during a bathroom break. I was not expecting that. Me either, Jess admits, checking her reflection. But he's so patient, and he makes her feel like she matters. Because she does matter. To him. Lauren turns to meet her eyes in the mirror. Jess, I've been so worried about you for so long, watching you work yourself to death, raising Lily alone, refusing any help. But now, something's different. You seem lighter, like you're finally letting yourself be happy. I'm trying, Jess says, her throat tight. Is that okay? Am I allowed to be happy with a guy like him? A man like him? Lauren turns to face her. You mean a successful man who treats you right, who clearly adores your daughter, who looked at our insane family and decided you were worth the trouble? She grabs Jess's shoulders. Jess, he's not the problem. Tyler was. Mom's impossible standards were. You thinking you deserved less was the problem. They get back just as dessert comes out. A massive tiramisu birthday cake that makes Lily's eyes go wide. Lauren blows out her candles, surrounded by family, and for the first time in 5 years, Jess doesn't feel like the odd one out. She feels like she belongs. Vanessa leaves right after the cake, saying she's tired, but she stops by Jessica's chair on her way out. I'm glad you're happy, she whispers. I mean it. I thought I was taking what you wanted, but maybe you dodged a bullet. Tyler is not. She trails off, a hand on her side. He's not who I thought he was. Vanessa, don't, she says, holding up a hand. I made my choice. You made yours. I just had to say, I can see you got the better deal. She nods toward Giovanni, who's now showing Lily how to fold a napkin into a swan. Don't let that one go. Guys like him are rare. She's gone before Jess can even think of a reply, leaving her with 1,000 questions and a weird sense of pity. The night finally starts to wind down. Her parents thank Giovanni over and over. Her dad even says they should get dinner again soon. Sophia and her husband suggest a double date. Lauren gives Jess a huge hug and whispers that he has her 100% approval. They drive home through Chicago's glittering nightscape, with Lily fast asleep in her car seat. Giovanni slides his hand into hers in the dark, their fingers locking together. "Your family's cool with me," he says, sounding genuinely surprised. "They're obsessed with you." "Yeah, there's a difference," she fires back, squeezing his hand. "You totally won them over, even my mom, and I thought that was mission impossible." "I had an inside agent," he admits, nodding toward Lily. "It's kind of hard to hate a guy when their kid already calls dibs on you." "Is that what she did?" "She told your mom tonight I taught her how to draw buildings, and now she's gonna be an architect just like her." His voice had that warm vibe she was starting to get used to. "Then she announced I was her favorite grown-up right after you and Camilla," and her heart cracked just a little more. "Giovanni, I know what you're thinking, that we gotta be careful, that she's getting way too attached, that if this whole thing blows up, she's gonna be wrecked." He looks at her as they pass under a streetlight. "But Jessica, what if it doesn't? What if this is legit, how 3 people managed to become a real family?" She had no comeback for that. But later, watching him carry Lily to her room and tuck her in, like he'd been doing it for years, she started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they were building something that would actually last. That night, with Lily out cold and the penthouse quiet, Giovanni finds her on the terrace. "Thank you," he says, wrapping his arms around her from behind, "for letting me in, for trusting me with her, for giving this a shot when it sounded completely insane. Thanks for making it so I had no other choice." She melts into his arms. "For the last 2 weeks, for tonight, for every single second, you make me think that fairy tale crap might actually be real if you're just brave enough to go for it." They just stood there, watching the city lights flicker on the water, and for the first time, she let herself imagine a future that wasn't just some temporary phase, where the guy holding her wasn't just a crush, but the man she was already gone for, where her kid would have a dad who chose her, not one who bailed. 2 weeks. That's all it had been since the warehouse drama, since Giovanni dropped the bomb about making their fake deal a real thing. But time doesn't mean squat when something feels this right. When coming home means walking into a place where a guy who thinks you hung the moon is waiting. And your daughter is sleeping upstairs, finally feeling safe. Maybe Camilla was right. This much happiness, this fast, could probably disappear just as quickly. But that night, wrapped up in Giovanni's arms under the Chicago sky, she decided it was a gamble worth taking, because some things and some people are worth the damn fight. And Giovanni Fioraldi, with his dangerous world and gentle hands, who loved her kid like his own, was a risk she was ready to take. That Saturday night had a bite to it, hinting at the Chicago winter on its way. 3 weeks had blown by since Sophia's wedding, a blur that felt like forever, and no time at all. Giovanni was insisting on dinner at his prime Gold Coast spot, Fioraldi's on Astor, for what he cryptically called new beginnings. I was learning that his idea of formal meant shutting down the whole second floor of his most exclusive restaurant, a joint with a Michelin star, a 6-month waiting list, and a VIP-only guest list. You didn't have to book out the entire floor. I'd complained when he told me the plan. "I need privacy," was all he said, his face a total poker mask hiding what he was up to. Trust me. So there I was in our penthouse, zipping Lily into a burgundy velvet dress, trying to calm my own freaking out heart. You could feel something massive hanging in the air tonight, something important I couldn't put my finger on. Mom, you're wrecking my hair, Lily whined, squirming away from my fidgety hands. Mr. Giovanni gave me a super important job, and I have to look perfect. An important job? I fixed her collar. What kind of job? It's a secret, she whispered, her eyes shining with that pure joy only a 5-year-old with top secret intel can have. A really good one. The best secret ever. Right then, Giovanni appears in the doorway, a total knockout in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my old car. His amber eyes scanned us with this open, warm approval. My 2 favorite ladies looking absolutely incredible. He crouched down to Lily's level. Are you ready for your special mission tonight? Yep, she chirped. I practiced all week, just like you said. Practiced what? I looked back and forth between them, my internal alarm starting to go off. You'll see, Giovanni said, standing up and offering me his arm. Shall we? When we got there, the restaurant was lit up like a jewel box, its warm glow spilling onto tables with perfect white tablecloths and crystal that sparkled like trapped stars. But the second floor, our private little world for the night, was totally transformed. Twinkling lights were woven through those brick walls, and candles were flickering on every single surface. In the middle of it all, one long table was set for 15 people, each spot marked with a name in gorgeous, fancy script. My family was already there. My parents were by the windows, my dad pointing at the Chicago skyline, while my mom watched with a look of pure peace, which never happens. Lauren and Daniel were chatting with Sophia and her new husband. Even Vanessa showed up, almost 9 months pregnant and looking exhausted, but still there. Jessica. Sophia rushed over, pulling me into a massive hug, practically glowing with newlywed happiness. I'm so glad you're here. Giovanni said tonight was a big deal. Honestly, I have no clue what this is all about, I admitted. That's because you're the worst at being surprised, Lauren chimed in, kissing my cheek. Just roll with it and have fun. Knowing him, it's going to be epic. Then Camilla popped out of the kitchen, a total surprise. You didn't think I'd miss this, did you? She said, hugging me tight. Giovanni called me 3 days ago and basically ordered me to be here. Feels like the whole world is ganging up on me, I muttered. But I couldn't help smiling. Franco and his wife Maria, who I'd only met a couple of times, were the last to show. He shot Giovanni a quick loaded nod before they sat down. If everyone could please take their seats, Giovanni announced, his voice naturally taking charge. We have a lot to celebrate tonight. The dinner that came next was insane, every course brought out and explained by Giovanni, who flipped between being the host and the owner like a pro. He'd put me at the head of the table, with him on my right and Lily on my left. My family was all around us, and the whole room was filled with laughter that sounded 100% real. During the main course, my mom leaned in. Giovanni, this is just unbelievable. Jessica is so lucky she found a man who's such a catch. Nah, I'm the lucky one, Mrs. Reed. His hand found mine under the table. Your daughter reminds me every day that being a catch means nothing if you have no one to share it with. My dad, who'd been quiet all night, finally spoke up. You're good to her. To both of them, that's all a father can ever ask for. That simple nod of approval from him nearly made me choke up. After 5 years of him acting like my life was a total train wreck, he was accepting us. All of us. Dessert came out as the sky outside went pitch black, turning the city into a galaxy of tiny lights. Chocolate soufflés with gold dust on top were put in front of everyone. "Before we dig in," Giovanni said, getting up and tapping his glass, "I have something I need to say, or really something I need to ask." My heart basically stopped. All around me, people were smirking like they knew exactly what was up. I was the only one in the dark. 3 weeks ago, I showed up to a wedding for a business thing, expecting absolutely nothing, his eyes locked on mine. Instead, I found Jessica hiding out at a table all by herself, trying to be invisible when she deserved to be put on a pedestal. He walked over to stand right beside me. I made her a deal, a total sham to save face for both of us. And Jessica, being the smart and brave woman she is, said yes. We danced, we faked it, we played our parts. Lily giggled next to me, totally in on the secret. But somewhere between that dance and right now, the fake part just disappeared. The arrangement turned into a real relationship. And I fell stupidly in love with a woman who pulls 12-hour shifts saving kids, who's raising an amazing daughter with a smile, and who told a mob boss he couldn't push kids around in her city. At this point, tears were just streaming down my face. Giovanni dropped to one knee, whipping out a velvet box from his pocket. "Jessica Reed, I'm not offering you a fake-out contract anymore. I'm offering you everything that's real. My entire world, my heart, my name. I'm offering you a life where you are never invisible, where you are celebrated every single day." He flipped open the box, and the ring inside shot light everywhere like a disco ball. "Will you marry me?" The room went dead silent, like everyone was holding their breath. All eyes were on me. "Say yes, Mom," Lily Whisper shouted, bouncing in her chair. "Say yes, so I can do my special job." A few people laughed, breaking the insane tension. I looked at this guy who in 3 weeks had become my absolute rock. The man who made my daughter pancakes and stared down criminals, all while looking at me like I was the freaking moon. "Yes," the word came out, all choked up with tears. "Of course, yes." Giovanni slipped the ring onto my finger, a perfect fit, then pulled me up for a kiss as the whole place went nuts. When we broke apart, Lily was tugging on his sleeve. "Now? Is it time?" "It's time," he confirmed, lifting her up onto a chair for everyone to see. She pulled a velvet pouch from her tiny purse and took out 2 simple, gleaming gold bands. "Peep this! The wedding rings!" she announced. "Mr. Giovanni put me on ring duty, and I'm holding them so everyone knows this is legit and I'm locked into this family forever." She passed them over with the dead serious vibe only a 5-year-old can pull off. The room exploded again with laughter and a whole lot of emotional clapping. "Forever," Giovanni confirmed, staring at Lily with so much love it actually hurt to watch. "You're both stuck with me now." The rest of the evening was a total blur of champagne and my mom swearing she wasn't crying through a face full of tears. Lauren grabbed me in a hug so tight I couldn't breathe, saying she'd never seen me this happy. Sophia and her man immediately offered to help plan the entire thing. Then Vanessa showed up, one hand on her stomach. "I wasn't kidding," she said low-key. "I'm genuinely happy for you. Tyler's—" She paused, searching for the words. "Tyler's just Tyler, but Giovanni is on another level. You better hold on to him." "I will, I promised. But for real, how are you?" "Exhausted, pregnant, and second-guessing every choice I've ever made." She shot back with a wry smile. But that's another story. Tonight is about you finally getting everything you deserve. While the Chicago city lights glittered like a broken mirror below, she stood on the restaurant terrace with Giovanni, a universe away from the party inside. In there, Lily was dancing with Franco, her laugh echoing in the October air. 3 weeks, she thought to herself. It felt like an eternity ago that she was at some wedding, drowning in a pity party. Now she was promised to a guy she was sure she'd loved since their very first awkward dance, a total soul-level connection. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, a silent vow. My mom believed in that, he murmured. That meant to be souls connect instantly. Your mother would have been all over this. Her hands found his and rested there. The whole 9 yards, she confirmed. The beautiful disaster, the messy history, the single mom with a 5-year-old kid. She would have absolutely loved you. His voice was a raw mix of warmth and pain, and she would have said the most valuable things are worth fighting for, especially when they're complicated. So what's the game plan? She turned in his arms to look him in the eye. We plan a wedding, he started. Figure out how to slam my chaotic world into your neat one and break it to Lily, her new dad. Not only owns restaurants, but takes meetings with some very important men. One day at a time. His kiss on her forehead sealed it. We're going to build something real out of the scam where we started. We're going to prove fairy tales can grow in the worst places. Inside, the song changed. The DJ, a dude Giovanni brought in, started playing the track from Sophia's wedding, the same song that played during their first dance, back when it was all a complete lie. Dance with me, Giovanni said, holding out his hand just like he did 3 weeks ago at table 12. One last time. Except this time, it's not fake. She put her hand in his. They went back to a room full of their future, where Lily was spinning with Camilla, her parents were genuinely happy, and their whole world was watching a total sham become the realest love of her life. Giovanni pulled her right to the middle of the floor. His hand hit the small of her back, the exact same spot as 3 weeks prior. Only tonight there was no script, no contract, no fake front put on to save face. Tonight it was just a guy who actually saw her when she felt totally invisible, and a woman who finally got that life's biggest wins are usually wrapped in problems you never see coming. I love you, she breathed against his chest, their bodies moving with the room's energy. I love you both, he replied. My family, my home, my entire world, 3 weeks. In that tiny slice of time, her whole universe got flipped upside down. A fake husband had turned into a partner for life. A guy who was a total stranger was now the father her daughter deserved. And held tight in Giovanni's arms, surrounded by the people who mattered, she finally understood what was up. That sometimes the universe just drops the right person in your path, right when you need it most. That love doesn't follow a schedule or logic or any rule book ever made. That a single night of pretending to be some guy's wife could lead to a whole eternity of being his. And that, she realized, was the craziest, most powerful magic there was.
She did not enter the ballroom as a villain, a heroine, or a romantic lead. She entered as a social symbol. To her family, she represented waste. Wasted potential, wasted status, wasted upward mobility. She was the daughter who had stepped off the approved track, the woman whose life no longer mirrored the tidy architecture of ambition that her family admired. Around her stood people who had mastered appearance, marriage, wealth, pedigree, legitimacy. She, by contrast, carried something far more dangerous into that room: visible consequence. And in that sense, the wedding was never only a wedding, it was a theater of hierarchy. Her assigned table near the kitchen was more than a seating choice. It was a sentence delivered silently. In elite spaces, humiliation rarely arrives screaming. It arrives organized, softly folded into etiquette. The insult is made graceful so that the victim is forced to endure it politely. She is not openly rejected. She is elegantly downgraded. This is the first lesson the story offers. Social cruelty is often most powerful when it disguises itself as normalcy. Her family did not need to shout at her. They only needed to remind her through tone and arrangement that she no longer belonged among the celebrated. Their pity was not compassion, it was control. Pity allows the powerful to remain morally comfortable while continuing to diminish the powerless. Then the ex-husband appears, and with him comes one of the story's sharpest observations. Men who abandon women often believe they retain ownership of the wound they created. He approaches not as a repentant man, but as an archivist of her pain, eager to confirm that the past still defines her. He measures his value against her stagnation. That is why his cruelty matters. He is not merely insulting her, he is trying to freeze her in the version of herself that made his betrayal feel convenient. But the story does something far more interesting than presenting him as simply bad. It places him within a cycle. He is a product of a world that prizes dominance over devotion, status over responsibility, and legitimacy over intimacy. In other words, he is not strong, he is obedient to a shallow script of masculinity. He chooses the cousin, the wealth, the socially approved future, because these things make him look like a man, even while proving he never learned how to be one. This is the second lesson. A culture that rewards appearance without character creates people who can succeed publicly while failing morally. Then Giovanni enters, and the text frames him almost mythically, composed, observant, dangerous, deliberate. Yet what he offers her first is not seduction, but structure, a role, a temporary fiction, a shield against public shame. On the surface, this looks like a trope. The powerful man rescuing the wounded woman, but underneath something subtler is happening. He does not merely protect her from the room. He reflects back to her a version of herself that the room had tried to erase. That is why the false arrangement matters. Sometimes dignity returns before love does. Sometimes a person must first be seen before she can imagine being cherished. He sees what her family does not failure, but endurance, not brokenness, but discipline, not scandal, but survival. He watches a woman who works exhausting shifts, mothers a child alone, and still arrives in a hostile room carrying herself with restraint. The story is not asking whether he is captivated by beauty. It is asking whether he can recognize strength in a form the world has stopped praising. Yet the story refuses to remain inside romance. The false intimacy draws real danger. Organized crime, leverage, surveillance, threats. The emotional battlefield becomes material. And here the metaphor deepens. Shame and violence are revealed as siblings. The ballroom and the criminal underworld operate differently, but both are obsessed with power, positioning, and control over vulnerable bodies. The difference is that the wedding wounds her symbolically, while the criminal world threatens her physically. In both spaces, however, she is treated as usable. That is the third lesson. A person's deepest awakening often begins when she recognizes all the ways others have tried to use her, and refuses the role. She is not merely the ex-wife, not merely the family disappointment, not merely leverage, not merely the single mother. The story's emotional turning point occurs when she stops accepting interpretation from outside forces. When she speaks, chooses, resists, and confronts, she begins to author herself. The daughter is crucial here. The child transforms the story from a personal romance into a moral test. Without the child, danger could still be thrilling, even glamorous. With the child, every choice becomes ethical. The presence of the daughter forces the question, what kind of world is a woman allowed to build after she has already been failed once? And here the story offers its most beautiful contradiction. The gangster is less emotionally reckless than the respectable man. The dangerous world contains more honesty than the polished one. The false relationship becomes the truest thing in her life. Why? Because truth in this story is not found through legality or social approval. It is found through responsibility. The man who claims her publicly also protects her child privately. The man with blood on his world still understands care more deeply than the man with clean hands and an empty heart. This does not absolve the violence. It illuminates the emotional famine of the supposedly safe world. That is the fourth lesson. What makes a person worthy is not the image of goodness, but the willingness to carry responsibility for another life. Her transformation, then, is not simply romantic fulfillment, it is ontological. She moves from being judged to being known. She moves from performing resilience to inhabiting it. She moves from surviving old humiliation to choosing new risk on her own terms. The story's deepest metaphor may be this: her life was a seed buried beneath shame. Everyone around her mistook burial for death. But what looked like ruin was germination. The family's contempt darkened the soil. The ex-husband's betrayal compacted it. The city's violence watered it with fear. And then, under impossible pressure, something living pushed upward. That is why the love story works, not because a powerful man rescues her, but because she is finally standing in a place where rescue is no longer the point. What she wants ultimately is not escape. It is recognition without erasure. So the final lesson is the most important. A woman's life truly changes when she stops confusing social approval with safety and starts choosing the people who see her whole. The wedding began as a pageant of legitimacy. It ended as an exposure of emptiness. The fake relationship began as theater. It ended as revelation. The wounded woman began as an object of pity. She ended as a person with agency. And that is the quiet brilliance of the tale. It does not say love saves her. It says truth does. Love is simply what becomes possible after that.